Good morning from our Minnesota farm. Today we're going to take out those trials I had shown on an earlier video of the foliar fertilizers. Remember, I did a mix 5, a BMZ, and then I mixed them with a Megafol. Well, a guy from Helena is coming out here to weigh those trials, and we're going to see how that goes this morning and see what kind of results we were able to obtain by doing that. Now, I'm not expecting a lot just simply because we've gone through quite a dry summer, as you can see by my other videos. We've basically been in a drought, yet we're getting yields that are much better than what you would expect in a drought. However, we did have some of those good rains earlier in August, so that obviously helped us pull out some fairly decent yields. This field here isn't yielding as good as the last one we were at. It's off a little bit. The last field that we did, I actually fertilized from Helena with what was called, they added what was called hydrohume in it, and which is a humic acid, and that may have made the difference. That one actually averaged 206 bushels an acre when we were done with that, and that's good on a normal year. Now, was it the hydrohume that did it or not? I'm not sure. But we're going to see if we can find out something here from the foliar fertilizers this morning. So I'm going to start the strip trial here, and I'm sure the guy from Helena is going to be along quickly, and we will see how this all turns out. As you see, he is showing up with the scale wagon, and we are measuring out each strip trial. Well, the results are in, and the first 3 strips here that we took for the trial, we have, as you can see, the mix 5. That one came in at 194 bushels at 59.1 pounds. Then we did the check, which, if you're not familiar with this, means there's nothing on there for foliar fertilizers. That's why I use it as a check to compare. And that came in at 192.8 bushels at 58.7 pounds. And then we did the mix 5 and the Megafol. And remember, the Megafol was a soluble nitrogen we just added in along with that the other micronutrient mix there, and that came in at 202.1 bushels per acre at 59 pounds. Now that was a 97-day Hefty, which is the Hefty Seed Company's 4732. When we go down to the next 3 strips, I used a 102-day Hefty Seed corn that was a 5212 variety, and on those 3 we used a BMZ foliar fertilizer that came in at 201.3 bushels at 57 pounds. The check came in at 213.6 bushels at 58.3, and the BMZ and the Megafol, again with the soluble nitrogen, came in at 200.9 bushels per acre at 57.4 pounds. Now, we're looking at this and we're saying, wow, it was a lot higher without the foliar fertilizer. Well, we know the foliar fertilizer didn't hurt it. That would be extremely unlikely. So we're just seeing some variability, and we couldn't come to any real conclusion that there was any help at all from the foliar fertilizer this year. Now, it was pretty dry this year. Would that change if we had plenty of moisture? Also, you notice on this later hybrid, that number was actually switched. So we had higher without the foliar fertilizer on the 102-day variety, but as we went up to the 97-day, we saw some response, because there, especially on the mix 5 with the Megafol, we're looking at a 10 bushel per acre more on that strip. With just the mix 5, we're looking at just a hair over a bushel more. So we could be looking at something that's just showing one variety certainly reacted much better to the foliar fertilizer than what another variety did. So it's hard to make conclusions off of just one test. But if we were to replicate these over and over and do it on different years, because next year we might have really nice rainfalls, that might make a difference. We might make a difference just simply because remember all our hot heat indexes we had this summer? That might make a difference. So there's so many different variables when you're working with this stuff. But I found this trial very interesting and really quite enjoyed doing it and trying to find out a little bit on my own whether something like this should be pursued over larger acres. Now that we've concluded our foliar fertilizer trials, I think I've gathered some pretty good information on my own in just this small sample that I've done. I'd like to have replicated these trials more, or at least take a look at some others who have replicated the trials. I think a few of the things that I could conclude here today is that some varieties may be much more responsive to a foliar fertilizer than others. And also I think it's certainly worth taking a look at if I can find a hybrid that seems to respond really well to a foliar fertilizer, then put it on larger piece of a field. Like for instance, put it on 20 acres or 40 acres of a field, and then leave the other part of the field without foliar fertilizer and get a better idea, do we get that 5 or 10 bushel increase by using it? I think it's certainly worth taking a further look at and trying it on a larger basis. I found this trial really interesting. I'm glad I did it. Took the time for it. It is a little time consuming, but I found it as one of the more interesting trials I've ever done. So thanks for joining us here at our Minnesota farm for the foliar fertilizer strip trials.